So, a couple quick things right off the bat. Today, the newest addition to my family was born. So, I'd like to say congratulations to my cousin Melinda and welcome to the family, baby Jade. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is absolutely insane. Robert Young. Some of you guys may have heard of him. He is also known as the Marathon Man. He was born in 1982 in England. He apparently had a very rough childhood where his father abused his mother, his sisters, and him for years until he was put in an orphanage at age 8, and then he was fostered at age 12. From there, he served in the British Army at age 17, and this is when he began competing in endurance activities. So recently, Robert Young had gained notoriety by running 420 marathon or ultra-distance runs in 365 days. He did this during 2015. More recent events have kind of buried a lot of the information about this undertaking, so I'm not 100% sure if he was doing it to raise awareness for a cause or what the kind of purpose was behind it, aside from breaking a world record. However, I did find a really interesting article from a publication called The New Statesman, which is linked down below, where they talk about him during this run, and they talk about him getting ready for his run across America. And a quick warning, it is not for the faint of heart. They do go into detail about some of the things that happened to him in his childhood. But during this record-breaking year, he did come under a lot of criticism from doctors or the people in the exercise science world, because according to him, he was sleeping around 3 to 4 hours a night, and some of the reports of his diet came back as less than ideal. Now, granted, he didn't disclose all the information in terms of his sleep, his eating, and any of the other factors going on. He also didn't disclose a lot of personal information about any injuries he was dealing with or any other things that he was going through during this record-setting year. And it's all understandable. So right off the bat, some people were noticing some inconsistencies in his athletic history, and there were some questions raised about the authenticity of some of the results. So first off, in 2004, he claimed to represent Great Britain in a long course triathlon event, and according to his official website, he finished third. But despite being on the entrance list, he didn't show up at all in any of the results, even for his category, despite claiming that he finished third. And a lot of his other running accomplishments also lack any sort of GPS or Strava or tracking evidence, but I won't delve into that because I didn't spend too much time looking at it. So along with criticisms of him maybe not being entirely honest with his previous races and previous results, he also had a lot of criticism for his actual physique as well. And this was something that I noticed too, and was kind of in the back of my mind when I was watching some of his videos and kind of reading more about him, is he just doesn't really seem to have the physique of someone who does a lot of endurance activity. Now, understandably, everybody reacts to exercise differently. As a personal trainer, I can tell you that point blank that it's pretty much all down to diet, and that is a huge factor. But your physique is typically shaped by the exercise that you do. There were a couple things that kind of looked off with him in terms of him compared to other ultramarathon runners that I've seen online, seen in person. So people were already beginning to raise questions before he decided to take on his biggest challenge yet, which was run across America. Officially, the distance you have to run is 2,677 miles. However, you can run a distance longer than that. It just has to be the distance from LA to New York. So he was taking the route starting in LA, going through the desert in New Mexico and Arizona, passing through Kansas, a couple other states I'm forgetting, and eventually he was going to end in Times Square in New York City. So a very lofty goal by all means, not something I'd sign up for tomorrow. So right off the bat, there were accusations of, at the very least, dishonesty given his track record. So to get around this, he actually enabled his fans on his website to track his run in real time. And if you go to his website, which is linked below, you can still see the map. But this tracking is actually what led to the interesting situation that Mr. Young finds himself in now. So the lid got blown off this whole deal by a guy by the name of Asher Delmont, who is a member of the Let'sRun.com forum and started a thread which blew up, and I think it's now over 9,000 posts. Asher was a fan of Robert Young. He was following along with the Run Across America and saw that he was going to be running through his hometown. He also noticed that he'd be there about 1 in the morning. So Asher, being a good guy, being a runner himself, decided why not run along with him? The thinking being he's running at 1 o'clock in the morning through a fairly vacant stretch of Kansas. So we figured why not join him, chat with him, inspired, all that. Upon driving to the route, Asher discovered a very slow-moving RV with no sign of anybody running alongside it. So what he did was he drove a little bit further up the route, thinking that maybe it was a support vehicle or a secondary support vehicle, and he was running further ahead with another car. So he drove for a couple miles, didn't see anything. So he stopped and again checked the website on his phone, and according to the phone, Robert's location was actually behind him. So he drove back again, past the same RV, and now Robert's location was in front of him. So this led to accusations, and this was kind of proof that he was actually faking his run and sitting in the RV for long stretches of time while it was driving at running pace. And now Asher also provided 2 YouTube videos, one of which is surveillance video from a gas station where you just see a very slow-moving RV go by, and the second is him in his car driving past the RV and you can't see anybody running. So this thread absolutely blew up, and after attracting attention from some illustrious news sources such as Runner's World and Deadspin, one of Robert's primary sponsors, a company by the name of Skins, commissioned an independent investigation. So upon coming under pressure, and especially for the independent investigation, his team was very hesitant to release data and pretty much wouldn't give up his cadence and stride data until they were pretty much forced to. This independent investigation was released about a week ago. It was 101 pages long. I read the first 50 pages of it, which was just the kind of data analysis. Some of the highlights for that included calculated cadences that were well below slow walk, so meaning how many times per minute he was striding. So in other words, according to some of the data, he was striding about 40 times a minute. And then the stride lengths during these periods of extremely low cadence were also extremely long to make up for the distance. So somehow he was able to stride 40 times a minute and cover 120 feet per stride. So the cadence is important for a few reasons. The definition of cadence is how many steps per minute you're taking. A typical walking cadence will be anywhere from about 90 to 120 steps per minute, and a full-on running cadence will be anywhere from 140 to 190, based off an individual's technique, based off a number of other factors. So another big thing with this was that they discovered that the highest amount of inconsistencies happened at runs that were logged at night. So this backed up Asher's assertions that he was actually just sitting in the RV at night and was running during the day. For me, the most damning thing was after the videos were posted, after the thread blew up, then all of a sudden all the data went back to what would be considered normal cadences and normal strides. So in other words, once he realized that the jig was up and people were watching him, he actually had to begin running again. A couple days after this, he then had to abandon his run near Indianapolis, and he was citing an injury. Several articles will be linked down below. The first one will be the original Let's Run post that kind of kicked this whole thing off. There was also a very good Google blog that really broke down individual runs and individual GPS data. I did take a look at it. I didn't want to include too much of it here just because it would slow the video down. Also linked below will be the Let's Run post about him abandoning his run near Indianapolis, which also had the entire 101-page report attached to it. Runner's World article detailing his injury, and then the Deadspin article I mentioned before. So anyways, that's all for today. I just came across this story, kind of fell down this rabbit hole, spent about a good 2 or 3 hours reading about it and trying to put all the facts together. And it's kind of insane to think of the lengths that people will go for notoriety. Not trying to minimize what he has accomplished so far, and it does sound like he had a very rough upbringing, but the lengths that he went to seemingly fake this run just seemed borderline insane. And this is further detailed in the Google blog about the GPS data and how that may or may not have been falsified and how things don't add up with that. And this was beginning as early as his first 2 days in Arizona. So about 4 or 5 days into the run, there were already questions, there were already problems with some of the data he was putting out. Also linked down below will be my fundraising page. If you guys like this video, please remember to donate. Every dollar counts. We're getting close. I think we have 3 weeks left until the marathon. On top of that, Running Brook's homepage will be down there, and anything else I used to research this video but just didn't add in. We do have the next couple videos planned out. They'll be sort of about my preparations for the marathon, some of the things I'm doing to kind of get myself fired up for mentally, and some other interesting videos about topics in the field of exercise. So stay tuned, guys. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys found this story as entertaining as I did.